come from all corners of the world for one purpose, or maybe three. Freedom, security, prosperity. That's why we come here. Okay? For years and years, people would come from across the shores to the United States of America with big ideas, with big dreams. That's what made us special, because government didn't get in our way. They didn't hinder us. They also didn't provide a safety net. They allowed us to go after those ideas and those dreams. That's what made us special. We had the freedom to do that. We took that freedom and we had the security to do that because we assimilated as Americans. Everybody here has got a different ethnic background. That's great. But when you say that you believe in the Declaration of Independence, and when you read the Constitution and understand that it's a limited government, there's things that government is not supposed to do. Like film us when we're watching video games. That there's things they're not supposed to do. It's a limited government. And my other favorite document is the Gettysburg Address. Now, I was going to read the Gettysburg Address, but I won't. But I invite all of you to read it. Then ask yourself a question. When Lincoln talked about these men that gave their utmost, made the maximum sacrifice, did he say Yankees? See, I'm from Texas, so I can say that one. Did he say Yankees? Did he say rebels? Did he say Northerners, Southerners, black, white? He didn't say any of those words. He said these men who gave their utmost. That's what he talked about. He didn't divide and conquer like our current occupant of the White House does and a lot of his minions. And see, that's sad. Because immigration does build this country. Immigration is very, very important. It's very important. Now, who's in charge of immigration? Who makes the rules for immigration?
Congress.
Congress, right? Yeah, it's one of those enumerated responsibilities of Congress. Article 1, Section 8. They have the power. They will set the laws for naturalization. Why do we have immigration? It's to bring in citizens, right? It's to bring in workers. It's to grow the company, to grow the country, to grow the economy. That's why we have it, right? We need workers. We need new ideas. We need people with big ideas and big visions, right? Does that make sense? Everybody agrees with that, right? The purpose of immigration is workers, really. It's more people. As we become more prosperous, we need more things. So that's an important fundamental to understand. Now, is this country special?
Yes.
I think it's special.
Absolutely.
How many people outside in the streets don't think it's special? You know, it's sad to me. I do a radio show noon to 1 out of Lowell on WCAP. I call myself the classical liberal. It really confuses the progressive liberals. It's great. And I invite you all to use that phrase whenever anybody says, "What are you?" You can say, "I'm a classical liberal." And they'll go, "Oh, that's really great." And then talk about the greatness of this country. It is great. Anybody ever think about the fact that all these immigrants coming in from all different nations of the world, we have managed to create and solve and free more people than any other nation in the history of the world with this diverse, I hate that word, but I'll use it this time, with this diverse population of Czechs, as we used to say growing up, frogs, and you had wops, and you had all these great words, right? All these different nationalities. Because we assimilated. We came together for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what makes us great. Now, the immigration bills before and now and this and that, they're trying to change what that means. We have one very important aspect that keeps this country together, although Eric Holder, who's the Attorney General of the Injustice Department, they seem to forget that this country's great because of rule of law. How many immigrants come to this country because they know when there's a law passed, That's the way it's going to be enforced for all people. Isn't that why people came here? So why in the world would we want to change the law to allow people to come here illegally so that they can now follow the rule of law because they came here illegally and they didn't really mean to come here illegally because whatever? We have to insist on rule of law. I want immigration. There's 4.4 million people right now that have paid all their visas up to date. They've been here. They're contributing. They're working in banks. They're working in hospitals. They're working this. And we have not even come up with a plan to allow them to become American citizens. But it's a great country. We can send representatives from Chicago to Zimbabwe to go into a tribe and look at the young kids and say, please come to America, because not only will we educate you, we'll give you a house, and we'll give you the food, and we'll give you a car while you become the boiler inspector for Birmingham, Alabama. I'm serious. I'm serious. I talked to this man. He's a great man. And he came here not for big ideas, not for big dreams. He came here because he could get an education, and we'd pay for his housing and his food and his car while he got the education to become a city inspector working for the town of Birmingham, Alabama, instead of other people who are actually citizens of Birmingham, Alabama. Isn't that amazing? This is the type of stuff that we have to do. Now, let's look at the bill. Right now there's 3 bills. Anytime the Congress of the United States says they're going to do comprehensive anything, tell them they're full of manure and to please go home. We'll pay their salaries if they promise not to meet for the next 4 years. Because there is nothing comprehensive. Probably 80%, and I haven't checked it, 80% of our laws and regulations are unintended consequences of comprehensive crap. It's amazing to me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. Well, I know Judy's using those slang words. They have border securities out there, E-Verify's out there. There's absolutely going to be no benefits for anybody. Yes, there's a pathway, but it's not really citizenship. They got to get at the end of the line. I don't know if it's the Disney Pass line or which line it is. Okay? The Easy Pass line. I've read the bill. The bill started out 1,200 pages. By the time you go into the U.S. code, it's up to about 3,500 or whatever pages, because you got to bring in these sections. The problem with the bill is there's about 1,000 uses of the word waiver. And it can all be done by El Presidente, our dear leader, and by, well, our big sis is no longer there. Is she there still?
She's leaving.
She's leaving. Thank God, don't let the door kick her in the butt. It'd have to be a big door, though. But, anyway, I'm saying, it's amazing to me what they want to do. Now, the House, this has got to scare you. The House wants to do it piecemeal, which is really the way it's supposed to be. But the first thing they want to do is for those poor kids that came here, not of their own gumption, but because their parents illegally brought them through the desert, past all the sex slave operations, past all the druggies, through the heat, through the this. They were 4 years old. They didn't need any water for all those days they came across the border. And we're expected to believe that that actually happened to the tune of about 3 million kids? I'm sorry, I don't believe it. But we want to give them a pathway to amnesty or to legalization because they had no choice in it. Now, we're going to get into something different. How many people know what the 14th Amendment is to the Constitution? 14th Amendment of the Constitution was written for the sole purpose of correcting the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court actually screwed up. Can you believe that? It's amazing. They passed the Dred Scott rule, which said that all blacks are property, they're not people. And so, that's what Dred Scott was. And so, when the North Ended up winning because all the Southern generals got killed. They shouldn't have been out in front of their guys, but that's a different story, okay? They freed them, you're all free, but they couldn't vote. Why couldn't they vote?
They weren't citizens.
They weren't people. Because of Dred Scott. See, Supreme Court never makes bad decisions, folks.
Oh, right.
Never, ever, ever. So they wrote the 14th Amendment. Senator Cass from Michigan had a really interesting thing. He said, this amendment shall not apply to foreigners, aliens, or what was the other one? I forget. Ambassadors. Pretty good. Aliens. Okay? Those are not space aliens. They didn't have all-night talk radio like John. Then they had no idea what space aliens were. Okay?
Those are the people walking by my window at night.
Right. 14th Amendment, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States. Wow. Let's see. Are citizens of the United States and of the state within they reside. How many, is that what it reads? How many people believe that is what the 14th Amendment says? Raise your hand.
No.
Subject to jurisdiction.
Ah, very good. There are two things that make you a citizen of the United States. Or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Another gentleman by the name of Lewis, I believe, and I think he was from Kentucky, wrote that the definition of that in jurisprudence and all that other legal stuff means that you're only under the jurisdiction of one nation. Kind of like when, think of it as married, you know, you say I do and you're subject to the jurisdiction of your wife. Okay? Just her. Now, not your mother, just her. That's what marriage is. That's why sometimes marriages don't work out too good, because the guy thinks that he's subject to the jurisdiction of his mother too. It doesn't work anymore. When you say I do, you've moved to sole jurisdiction of the woman. Period. Okay? That's why we have honeydews. Alright? We have forgotten this as a nation. We're not being cruel. But when Congress decides to investigate whether or not the kid from the Philippines was born in American airspace to whether they could be citizens, you've got chaos. When we discuss the fact that we kill an Islamic terrorist in Yemen, and we say he's an American citizen, when his parents were here on a legal visa, both of them, from Yemen, going to the University of New Mexico when he was born, and we think we can demand that he be a U.S. citizen?
No way.
When his parents were here on a legal visa? What are we talking about? That's insanity. That's suicide. It causes chaos. You have to be both. So now what we want to do, I'm very consistent on this. You come across the border illegally, you have a kid, I'm sorry, the kid is whatever nationality you are, period.
That's it.
All right? If you come across the border and you bring your kids, they're already born. We're trying to do the same thing to them. Oh, we'll make you an American citizen. Why? Who gave you permission? Who gave you permission to make them an American citizen? Did their parents say it was okay? You got to use simple logic. I mean, if you go to France and they look at your kid and go, you can be a French citizen, would you be upset? Of course you would. Okay? I'd be upset because my kid doesn't know how to use a car with 5 reverses. But besides that, that's sort of an inside joke. But I mean, nothing against the Frenchies, okay? But I mean, you know, that's what this bill is trying to do. Now, will any of our congressmen here say anything? No. It's because you didn't elect me. And will any of the senators? Same thing. No. But there are other ones that could use your support, and they will say something. So, what do we do? What's a good immigration policy? Who's got some ideas? You guys all know the answer. You have to be able to go out and talk to people. What's a good immigration policy? What do we have?
I think that they should start with all the people all over the world that are trying to do it the right way.
The legal way.
And they've been waiting 10, 15 years and trying to do it right. And they've got education. And instead we're letting people that sneak in go ahead of those people. So
Okay.
they should let those people in first And then it should be like when my grandfather came here. You had to have a sponsor. You
Yep.
had to have somebody to live with.
Yep.
You couldn't have any come here with TV or anything. It was going to cost a lot of money. And then you know, you could work. Then you had to learn English, and then you had to take a test.
And pass a history exam.
Well,
And a
that
civics
was
exam.
part of the test.
Little things, yes.
I believe nothing should be done unless and until we secure the borders, period.
Oh, well, how do we do that? Do we need legislation for that? Do we need legislation to secure the borders? No, we don't.
Part of the law.
The laws are there.
The laws are there.
That's right.
Remember, we're a country, the rule of law, okay?
They need to.
So we need to secure the borders. Now, who can help secure the borders?
National Guard.
National Guard, that's a good idea. We got National Guard. They need to do training every month. All right, let them train, okay? Who else can help secure the borders?
Police.
Who? Police? From where?
The reserves, whatever
From
area.
the states.
From the state, yes.
From the municipalities. That whole thing that the Obama regime does not want these guys involved? No, no, no. This is a government. We don't need to commit suicide. We all work together. It's called, you know, working together.
Joe
Amazing.
Arpaio.
What?
Joe Arpaio.
Oh,
Yeah, George Arpaio, he's got the right idea. You have to do things like that.
Maricopa.
Now, we're stopping people from coming here. Who are the people that come across the border?
Mexican.
Yeah, what?
I was told that they hold back the people from like rich countries like Japan in order to get people up from lower wage earning countries in. Because I know this girl who's waiting for 9 years to become a citizen.
Yes.
And she had to get married to my nephew in order to become a citizen.
There are a lot of
They won't let
issues.
them in.
There are a lot of issues with who? We can thank Teddy Kennedy, all right, for the '66 immigration bill, in which we took like-minded countries. Okay, there are some countries that believe in liberty and freedom. Okay, and then there are a lot of countries that have no clue what the heck that means. Now, what we did was we decided to let more of those in than the people that understand what freedom and responsibility are. Okay? All right. Who comes across the border? You got terrorists, you got illegals, you got poor people. A lot of poor people. You go to the Mexican border, you see, yeah, we got the drug dealers, but they have a job. But you've got all these hills and stuff on the Mexican border cities. Who lives on top of the hill? No, the poor people live up there. They don't have plumbing to get the water up. If you ever go to El Paso and look across the border, make sure you've got bulletproof glass. But if you do, you will see mothers and stuff taking yokes with buckets, carrying the water up to the top of the hill. That's where the poor people live because they don't have the plumbing to get the water up. All right? Those are the people that are coming over here. When they come over here, do they believe they've achieved the American dream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they get water.
Better than where they live.
They get running water, right. You can get 20 people in an apartment with running water, flushing toilets, screens on the doors, air conditioning, a refrigerator, this and that. They are living better than any of the people I visited in Pueblo, Mexico as the volcano Popo was erupting. It was really cool. Kind of neat watching a volcano erupt. It's kind of fun. So much better than like the people that I met with and went to eat with in Costa Rica. They've achieved the American dream. They don't feel that they're being slighted. They don't feel that they're living under the table. Yes?
Our Carstens say that for us to equal what they are getting in benefits, you have to make $61,000 a year.
That is an American deciding not to work, $61,000. Yes, it is. Which is more than my niece and her husband, both in full-time jobs, make combined together. Yes.
There's also the incentive to come because of the drug wars and the wanting to get out of the crossfire. Even Chicago is safer.
I don't believe that. But I'm not going to go quite with the Chicago thing, but I think it might be close. You've got people coming here for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is easy to get benefits in return for jokes, in return for ballots. The city of Lawrence loses, I forget the number exactly, but it's something like 15,000 people during the winter. They go back to the Dominican Republic, whatever it is. You go back there for the summer, for the winter. Their EBT cards and cash go to them there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Now, they've been signed up because they never had to prove, but let's not get into that. You've got a lot of people. Now, you've got one other category that I believe is the biggest category that come to the United States, because I've spent a lot of time in Costa Rica lately, in Mexico. That is the young kids that want to come here and bust their tails and make as much money as they can standing outside of Home Depot and getting a job doing this, or going here, or working the farm, or this and that, and they work hard, and 20 of them get an apartment, they've achieved the American dream, they send their money home. That's why Bank of America has got on, if you go to the second slot of options on the phone, number 1 is sending cash back to Mexico as an option, okay, which is why I canceled my thing with Bank of America. But that's what they've got. I've met these kids and women. They've come here, worked illegally for 3, 4, 5 years. They now go home and they buy a nice home, and they take a job doing some sort of work, okay, at the local plating shop or the local this or the local that. They make a whopping $1 an hour. They are the top of the list in their town because they've got a home, they've got a car, they're making $1 an hour, they get married, they have kids, they're happy. They don't want to come here to become citizens. They come here to make money, to go home and be able to start their family. I've met over 20 kids where this has happened. And they make anywhere from $1 an hour to $1 a day. And they're happy, yes.
I heard that the third highest source of income from Mexico is people sending money back from
Yes.
this country. Billions of dollars.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I was down there playing golf as the volcano was going off because it was my last day and I was bored, and it was the first time I ever got a what do you call those dudes? Caddies. Yeah, it was really cool. He couldn't speak it much English, but it was okay. He carried my clubs, and then I completely disrupted the entire Mexican economy because at the end of the day I gave him a $30 tip. And he was like... But it was really kind of neat, you know. I never had a caddy before. See, we're not talking about immigration and the fact that over half, I believe it's as much as 50% of the people here are here to make money to send home. They don't want to be citizens of the United States. They want to go home and take care of their family. That's why they're here. Why don't we use that? I don't mind using it. I don't mind taking and increasing the, what is it, the N1B visas, the H1B visas, to get the computer jockeys and to get the medical staff and stuff to help us. I don't mind that. I don't mind increasing the visa. Now, I'd like to do something about the people here that aren't taking the jobs that no Americans will take. I think that's a bunch of crap. If you don't have a job, you take a job. Okay?
Not if the state will support you, you don't have to.
Not if the state, but it's not the state supporting you, it's me and you, all these other people. Anyway, the whole purpose of this immigration bill, and it's very, very scary, comes down to 2 things: votes and labor. Okay, you got the Democratic Party that wants votes. Most of the people that get here will end up voting for them. If they get. And you've got labor. A lot of the labor is, you know, and we're talking labor wants labor. It doesn't make sense because it makes us less of a nation. We need to be exceptional. We need to maintain the rule of law. We went to a wedding down in Texas, and then we went to New Orleans just so we could smell what Bush did when he flooded everything, because it's got this rotten smell now. And I guess it was the first time it was ever flooded. But New Orleans doesn't smell really good. It's kind of. But anyway, we stayed at a plantation, Nottoway Plantation. Really great place. This guy, he was part of the Randolph family. The Randolph family is the same Randolph family that drew up the first Constitution and took it and presented it so James Madison wouldn't be accused of being a little Napoleon. So, but they didn't know Napoleon then, so that joke that's not a good joke. But anyway, it's that same family. They were very good. They took care. At the end of the Civil War, he put up everybody's name, said, if you stay, I'll pay you. You can still keep your house, you can keep this, you can keep that. 96% stayed. Okay, out of 200 slaves, he had, 8 that left. Okay? They were now free men. My brain, though, works really mysteriously when I'm in these types of things. And the question I came up with is, did the Democrat Party treat slaves better in 1860 or in 2013? That was my question. Okay? And I mean it very important. I really mean that it is a question, because I feel that the Democrat Party today treats their slaves worse than they did in 1860. Because see, in both 1860 and today, we clothe them, we shelter them, we feed them, but back in 1860 they learned a trait. They were a gunsmith, they were a blacksmith, they had something that they could go after the Civil War. The majority of the people, slavery's wrong, don't get me wrong, and I'm not making light of this, but I'm trying to give you a perspective. They had a trait that they could go and make money once the 14th Amendment said they were people. Okay? Because the Supreme Court never makes a mistake. Today we have slaves. We've got the illegal immigrants that we allow to work here and stay here and work under the table sending money home, that believe they've achieved the American dream and they have not. And we also have a lot of people on welfare that would just soon stay on welfare because they think that this is the greatest way in the world, but we've taken away their dreams of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is really what slavery is. Don't be afraid to go out and talk to your friends and neighbors and family and grandkids and daughters and, you know, this and that. You have to talk in terms of what we're missing. When you look at 20 and 30 years, and I'll end with this, when you look at 20 and 30-year-old people, you ask them, do you see anything wrong? What's their answer?
They don't know. I'm doing
No,
okay.
don't know any better.
They don't see anything. They think it's great. How sad is that we here see how disastrous the decline and decay of this country has been in 40 and 50 years, and these people think how great of a country we were, that we see how much it's gone down, and they think it's still great, and they think it'll still be great for another 20 years. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Just how great this country was and still is.
Depends on your perspective.
You got to talk to your families.
Yeah.
You got to tell them what it is.
They're educated about what's going on.
I think they're educatable if you go, yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Runaway Slave?
No, I have not.
Oh,
C.L. Bryant,
Go watch it.
pastor from and former NAACP president of Atlanta chapter,
Great
was
movie.
a Baptist minister.
Go watch it.
Is that a
very
good movie?
liberal. Couldn't fathom or stomach the liberal position on abortion. Became more conservative over time. But the basic idea behind the movie Runaway Slave is that get off the government plantation. It is a very good movie. It's online. You can get it off maybe Netflix. It's definitely worth a read. And it's not only is it a good movie in talking about how the government's enslaved the poor, in particular in blacks, but it's also a very pro-American movie talking about how great this country was in freeing the slaves.
Well, we still are. We still are a great country.
Absolutely.
It's important you get down on your knees every night. I don't care what religion you are, but we got to hopefully, you know, some hand of the Almighty, someplace the divine did a whole lot during that whole revolutionary period. And during the Civil War when you think about it. And during World War II. We're the last beacon of freedom, and we have to talk about that, and we have to ask God to keep helping us be that. So it means defeating, and it also means that somehow we need to start getting true classical liberals on the ballot. Okay? Otherwise we're going to lose it.